Hello, welcome to North and South Podcasts. Today I am speaking to Dianne Jennings as part of our Wellbeing podcast series in association with Hope Street. Dianne is a hypnotherapist and psychotherapist, and the name of her small company that she runs herself is Solution Focused Hypnotherapy and Psychotherapy. And I'm going to be discussing this with Dianne. I heard her do a talk at Hope Street a few weeks ago. I was very, very impressed, and I thought it would be great to do a North and South and Hope Street podcast with her. I first of all met Dianne in her converted container in her garden, which was a lovely setting, beautiful little room, beautiful little space. And to the sound of very relaxing music, I asked what it was that got Dianne interested in this particular field.
Hypnotherapy was something that I had myself about 10 years ago, actually, for irritable bowel syndrome, so IBS. And I had 4 sessions, and it was a life changer. I know that sounds really extreme, but actually it was. It gave me such an insight into my own emotional intelligence and well-being that I decided that when I was 40, I was going to look into doing something similar myself. Because I'm a qualified nurse, I've been health visiting for a long time, and I just decided that I didn't want to carry on doing that until I retired. I wanted to do something different, and I just found it so life-changing that I thought, do you know what, that might be something of interest. So I decided when I was 40, that's what I was going to do. And I was driving somewhere, I can't even remember where I was driving, but I heard an advert on the radio for hypnotherapy training. And I thought, that's it. That's what I could do that was different. So I actually went for an interview for that hypnotherapy school, and something didn't feel right with the school. I just wasn't happy with what they were offering me and how much it was going to cost. So I looked further into it and discovered solution focused hypnotherapy. And that's where it started, that's where the journey started. And I applied to do the diploma, so the hypnotherapy diploma. And it was 12 months, it was one weekend every month for 12 months. And I went to do it in Manchester with a practice called the Clifton Practice Hypnotherapy School, so CPH2. And that's who I qualified with in 2017. So,
Excellent. How long did it take to do that course? Did you do it part-time?
So it was one weekend every month for a year.
And did you have like homework and
so we had to do. So when I say one weekend, it was a Saturday and a Sunday. Yeah. So I used to travel over to Manchester for those 2 days, and my husband was so supportive because I had young children at the time, and so it was one weekend every month until the December, and then you had to do so you had, straight from the off, you have to practice doing hypnosis with people. Yeah. So during the time where we weren't studying, we would be asking friends and family, practicing with them, seeing them at home, seeing them wherever you could see them, really. Yeah. And just to build up your confidence in the actual practicalities of working with people. I was lucky because I had a nursing background, so working with people wasn't unusual for me, but there was an engineer who was on our course who never had any patient facing experience at all. So it was a lovely time. Training was amazing. We got really close with all our colleagues, and I keep in touch with them now. Not all of them, but the ones that qualified. Not everybody qualified in the end. And then you do a portfolio at the end, so you have to submit like case studies. So I would get permission from people and submit, I think there was about 4 or 5 case studies that we had to submit. We had to do reflective practice, so we'd reflect on our learning, and then we had a lot of questions, so like sort of portfolio questions that we had to provide evidence for. And then in the end, I actually got the higher diploma.
Excellent.
in the end. Yeah, and that qualified me as a hypnotherapist and psychotherapist.
Now, the first thing I want to do with my appreciation of mental health, mental well-being, the word psychotherapy and the word hypnosis or hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
Years ago, they were like setting off like alarm bells, like that these are quite extreme things that people don't appreciate. So there may be people listening who are thinking hypnotherapy, hypnosis.
Yeah.
I've seen magicians do that on TV, etc.
Yeah.
How would you actually describe what hypnotherapy and psychotherapy are to maybe someone who isn't familiar with those terms?
To a lay person. Hypnotherapy is the use of deep relaxation in order to calm your conscious mind, so that bit of your mind that tells you things, to calm that down, to allow your subconscious mind to be aware of the language that's being used. And you will only feel that sense of deep relaxation if that's what you would like to experience. So someone who's skeptical or who's unsure won't necessarily feel the benefits of that deep relaxation.
Yeah.
Psychotherapy, the word psychotherapy literally means talking therapy. So it's what part of my session includes, and I follow a very kind of sort of a program really that's been designed by a man called David Newton, and he years ago was a psychiatrist, and he discovered the benefits of hypnosis, and he also discovered the benefits of solution focused brief therapy, and he merged the two together, and he came up with this solution focused hypnotherapy and developed the program from there. And so he has schools across the whole of the country. It started in Bristol, and then if you can search for the CPHT schools, and they are all around the country now, and that's where it comes from.
So I think mental health, it's discussed a lot more, I think, now compared to when I was young.
Yeah.
And I remember like listening to a song where like people mentioned psychotherapy, and it sounds like, goodness gracious, like people getting locked up in, you know,
extreme circumstances.
And put in a padded room and all this stuff. So actually these are just things which are part of our life, because if you think about it, when people relax, that hypnotherapy is just a deep form of relaxation, and everyone likes to relax. And psychotherapy is a way of talking about your issues, which everyone does at some level anyway. So it's like providing more of a focus on them, and if you're like drilling down and saying, right, we need to discuss these issues to help you to move along your well-being. Now I'm interested in the solution aspect, because many people describe, like, think of counselling as being a bit airy-fairy, but the organisation that you run is called Solution Focused Hypnotherapy and Psychotherapy. And to what extent is the solution focused part central to that? How does that manifest itself?
It's fundamental. It's absolutely fundamental. And actually, somebody coming to see me, I don't always know what the problem is, and that's okay, because actually, as an individual person, what you're looking for, most people when they're finding life difficult, is actually they're looking for a way out. They're looking for a solution for themselves to feel better, and actually, and that's the biggest thing I find with this particular work, is that it's so uplifting, because you don't focus on the problem, you actually focus on the solution. So the way that the session pans out is that somebody will come and I will say, so what's been good? What have you noticed that you've been pleased with this week? And automatically you're in your intellectual mind, which when we're working from that part of our minds, we actually come up with the right answers for ourselves. We feel like we're able to cope. We all need it, because we all have times where things are difficult, But actually, if we can try and focus on what we can do rather than what we can't do, then that gives you hope, and that gives you that it's almost like that sense of joy, even if it never happens. Just the imagination, just the thought of actually coming to that solution yourself is empowering and uplifting, and that's the other biggest thing that I've noticed is none of us really like to be told, do we? We all really make our own minds up about what's the best thing for us. And that's the difference between perhaps counselling, my understanding of counselling anyway, because actually, as far as I've never really experienced actual counselling, but my idea is that they tend to look at the problem and try and unravel that to a certain extent, whereas this comes from a very different angle. This comes from a more positive perspective rather than, so you come out of here and most people I talk to feel, well actually all people that come to see me afterwards feel better. After one session, 2 sessions, however many sessions they have, they just feel lighter. That's what people say to me. They come out of the sessions feeling lighter and brighter and just more able to cope. And when you're in that place, you then know what decisions are the right decisions for you.
Absolutely. I think that if you look at hypnotherapy as a form of deep relaxation, I've done one of your hypnotherapy sessions and I absolutely loved it. I do meditation and I found that session very, very relaxing indeed. You then go to a different place. It's like closing down that negative animal brain, if you like.
It is.
Then, if you're going to then do the psychotherapy from that place or as part of that process, you're talking from a better place than the negative mind. And then if it's solution focused, you're looking at where you want to go. And again, so many traditions will say you need to know where you want to go. Because I was going to ask you the difference between what you offer and say what a counsellor might offer. Now, a counsellor might offer what you offer, but counselling is very much an umbrella term, lots of different styles and approaches. And what you're saying is, here's an approach, which is solutions focused. It's based on deep relaxation and it's based on you talking about your issues yourself. And in that package, you're moving people on in a clear way, which has got like very, very clear and positive results. Is that would you say that's a good summary of the counselling thing?
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. I think one of the issues as well is I think I might have mentioned this to you when we spoke the first time we met. We, as humans, we often find it hard to be quite objective, and we have different parts of our brain which are competing. And one of the things I'm interested in is day to day, not allowing the negative voice to dominate and to allow a more positive voice to shine through, as it were. And would you say that that's like the objective of your kind of approach to things?
Absolutely. And it's not saying we can't have negative thoughts and feelings, because we all do, and life is difficult and sometimes it's hard. But actually, if you're aware of how your mind works, of where you're sat at that particular time, you can make some conscious changes to how you think. So, I'm not saying you think positively all of the time, but what you do is you learn to notice when your mind is telling you sort of the negative thoughts. And then the biggest thing is you can then start to think in a different way. And I've noticed that over the last 10 years, since I had hypnotherapy myself, since I've done my training, and since I've been practicing, because I've been practicing for 4 years, the language that I use with people on an everyday basis is very positive focus. And if someone says to me, "Oh, isn't the weather awful?" and I go, "I know, but just think about the grass growing." And it sounds a bit it's not patronising, because I don't do it in a patronising way. It's just a different way of seeing things. And that's the biggest thing that my clients notice, is that they start to see things in a different way, and that in itself is just a joy to see.
I think that what you say there, that's wisdom, isn't it? To just see the positives in things, because we're going to go on to the stress bucket, which is a concept you use a little bit later. But if you're allowing negative thoughts and emotions to then manifest themselves, that's adding to your daily stress levels. And the ego, the animal brain likes that, because it makes it, I'm important, I'm here, I can moan about things, that gives me identity, etc. And it's about offsetting that with wiser thoughts. And it doesn't mean that you don't say, right, there's a problem that I need to address. It just means you approach it differently. So someone, I've changed the way I speak in recent years to people about certain things compared to in the past. But sometimes something happens, you can say to someone, okay, what are we going to do now then? While they're complaining about what's just happened, just saying things like, okay, what do we do now? And then we're coming up with a way forward.
That's right.
And but it's one thing doing that for other people, but to truly do it for yourself, that is true wisdom, if you like.
And it is doable, and I think that's the biggest thing that I advocate, is that we can learn to think in a different way. And it might take practice, and it might take conscious effort to do that, and maybe that's experience that you've gone through, and you've noticed the benefits to you, and I have for me. And I think if we can share that with everybody, then I think the world will be a better place. We will be a happier society if we can start to notice the small things, the good things. And it's not, when we say solution focused, and we've got this kind of expectation of where we want to be, sometimes that feels so overwhelming that it puts you off. People come to me and say, well, I want to be able to stop smoking, but the thought of that is just so great that they just decide that that's too much for them. So the way that the therapy works is it's taking small steps towards that preferred future, and that could be, it's really simple stuff. It's not the big stuff. That almost sorts itself out. It's those small little steps that people feel empowered to take that makes the difference.
Absolutely. And I spoke to you earlier about my diet. I've made dietary changes because of my genetic illness. And what I learned in 2003 when I started to change my diet was I read a book, and it said, if you give something cooked, you need to replace it with something else in food. And that's the best piece of advice. And when I went gluten-free, I did it in stages. And again, unless you've heard that, or someone has told you that approach, or you've spoken to someone who assists you, that can be like an unbelievable mountain to climb.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I mean, I've spoken to people recently about things like what we're discussing, and they go, I'm okay, or, no, that's a bit airy-fairy and all that. And then I see them smoking, I see them drinking a lot, I hear them moaning a lot. And a lot of the things which we need to do or need to acknowledge are hidden in plain sight. And sometimes, even if you think you're quite enlightened, a comment by someone else can just be like a huge breakthrough, like, I didn't see it like that. And I'm going to give a very quick example which a lot of people will relate to. I remember playing football, and I used to play for a team, and we were playing in a league that was quite competitive. And after a game once, we were moaning at each other a bit. And one of the players said, I can't remember the last time I enjoyed a game. And we all looked at each other and went, oh my God, you're right.
That's it.
And after that, we decided that from now on, it was the enjoyment that mattered. Do we actually want to be doing it? And it was literally hidden in plain sight. And these are the kind of things which can be, I don't want to call them revelations, but they almost are revelations.
That's right.
Right there. There's something just here. And you might need a bit of help to see it, but it's there, and you can get there.
That's it.
And I think it's a very powerful approach to life. It's very empowering as well, isn't it?
Definitely.
When I heard you speak recently, you spoke a lot about the stress bucket. Do you want to tell us about that concept?
Yeah.
And I also want to discuss, because you've discussed your philosophical approach, and you've looked at like the rewards and the solutions that your clients. I don't like using that word because it almost sounds a bit American, like the client or whatever.
I know.
But the people you've helped and,
Yeah.
and guided and spoken to, you have a philosophy, but you also underpin it with understanding of the brain, which is a big aspect of your approach. So, what is the stress bucket then? How would you describe that concept?
Yeah, so it's a metaphoric term that we use, that solution-focused hypnotherapists use. We've all been trained in the same way. And when we had that talk, that was the initial consultation that everybody would get when they first came to see me. And I talk about what the stress bucket is. And really, it's just, if you can imagine in your mind events that have happened to you, emotional events, that they would fill your stress bucket. So it could be anything from a significant life event to the loss of somebody, to loss of a job, to financial constraints, all of these things. Coronavirus has been the biggest filler of stress buckets in the last 18 months to 2 years. And what happens is, when our stress bucket fills and fills and fills to the point where it's overflowing, it affects our daily lives. So we can present as feeling irritable, we can't maybe eat very well, we've lost our appetite, we don't sleep very well at all. It affects the way that we sleep, so that REM that we need, the rapid eye movement sleep that we all need during the night, that gets used up, that gets affected. And that's where hypnotherapy helps, because hypnotherapy is like extra REM sleep. And because REM sleep helps us empty our stress buckets, when we've got less in our stress buckets, we feel we're more able to cope. We can cope with things better. We're not as irritable. We can sleep better. So it's a really important thing to notice how full your stress bucket is. We all have one. I have one. I've just said to my daughter this morning, I've got this, 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 and then all of a sudden I was like, I feel better now, because I just sort of noticed that it was starting to get too much and I needed to lessen it a little bit. And you find little things that help you. So for example, for me, yoga really helps me. I know you do meditation, you know, but everybody has something that helps them to download to empty that stress bucket. I have clients who come to me and who haven't knitted for years, you know, and they might pick knitting needles up, or they might go, you know, get a dog. You know, for example, you know, used to have a pet when we were little, and actually, all of a sudden, actually, I could do that. I could get a pet and go for a walk. That would really help me empty my stress bucket. And when your stress bucket is not as full, you can cope better with the big stuff.
Absolutely. And I think that the issue with the stress bucket as well is you get people who have quite profound experiences, which can be big, and adverse childhood experiences, which can be massive. But a lot of those little things can add up, and if you're constantly interpreting things negatively, they can amass to huge stress. With the solutions approach, I mean, I do a bit of yoga. When I was quite, my mental well-being wasn't very good in 2007-8, and I remember going out with my dog in the morning, and there's a lot of scientific evidence to show that having a dog is massive for well-being. But I'm interested in what you said about that deep relaxation, because at night, when you have that REM sleep, that deep sleep, and when you have that deep relaxation, you're giving your mind the ability to process stressful events. If you're not sleeping well and you're not relaxing well, they build up and they accrue in the long term, and then the stress bucket doesn't get emptied, and it can lead to neurosis, psychosis, and decline in well-being.
Yeah, completely. And that's exactly it. You've hit the nail on the head. You know, it's just noticing those small things that you can do that can really help. And they don't have to be massive. And then the big things almost click into place. And you then notice. So I see clients who've done this stress bucket emptying, who've managed to find things that really help, and then they come to me and they go, oh yeah, I've applied for a new job, or you know, or I put my house up for sale, or our relationship is so much better.
Yeah,
Or those are the things that actually, that do really make the difference.
Yeah, and as you say, those little things. One of the things which I know some people struggle with is literally getting out of bed in the morning. And if you can develop a strategy whereby you get out of that bed, if you get that right and go outside, it might be walking the dog for some fresh air in the morning if you're not in work or whatever.
Yeah.
That routine, that little change can really make a big difference.
Absolutely.
But again, it's that hidden in plain sight, and that's where solution-focused therapies can really help.
We use a type of questioning, it's called the miracle question. So during the psychotherapy part of the session, which is usually at the beginning, the questioning approach is very, how can I describe it? It's not direct, it's almost indirect, and someone will say, so I might say to them, what are your best hopes for today's session? And it might be that I'd like to feel more relaxed or more confident or more able to cope. I'll say, okay, scale that for me. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you say you were on that scale today? And it might be 2, or it could be 6. It's not, that doesn't really matter, it's about where you want to be. So then the questioning would evolve. So I would then say, okay, if you took one small step towards that goal of feeling more confident, and you noticed tomorrow that you'd move from a 6 to a 7, what's the first thing that would be different? And it could be as simple as, well, I might get up 10 minutes early, or, I wouldn't be rushing around in the morning. So if you weren't rushing around in the morning, what would you be doing instead? Well, I might sit and have a breakfast, or, okay, well, if you were sitting having your breakfast and you weren't rushing around, that would help you to feel more relaxed. What's one small step you could take towards that goal of sitting having your breakfast? And that's the ultimate question. You get to that doing picture at the end of those questioning, and it's always from you. It's always from the client. It's never me.
Yeah.
It's never me saying, well, I think you should do this. It's always them saying. And sometimes some things people come up with, it amazes me, because I think, wow, that's brilliant, because that's just right for you. It could be set the alarm clock 10 minutes early, or pack my bag the night before, or really, really simple stuff, but that just helps you in the morning to get out that door and you're not stressed. And the more people do that, the more your brain likes it. So the more you do something, the more you'll do it again. So it's your primitive brain sort of manoeuvring those memories of how you can cope better, what you could do that was different.
Even the Stoic philosophers, some of the ancient Greek philosophy I've been reading recently, there's a lot there about the morning. You think that you're going to read these books and there'll be these grand narratives about make sure you're ready for the morning is one of the key things.
I know.
Something as simple as that can matter differently. And when someone's in a bit of a negative mindset, you might go, oh, I don't have any time in the morning.
Yeah, that's it.
And if you say to them, well, why don't you get up early? Oh no, I need my sleep.
Exactly.
Whereas if you reverse it,
that's exactly it.
If you use that kind of Socratic method, open questions, and then you go, well, what do you need to do?
Yeah.
That revelation from them gives them power.
That's right.
As much as you might just say, well, get up 10 minutes early, when they say it, they go, wait there, why couldn't I see that? And it's more revelatory then, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that is the absolute key. The key to change is somebody fundamentally realising that for themselves and what they can do for themselves. I'm just here to facilitate that. I always say to people, I'm not the expert in you. You're your expert. You know what's best for you, and it's just you finding that path for yourself.
That kind of fits into my next question, really. I'll come back to the brain in a minute, but what kinds of issues do people come with to yourself? Because there might be people listening going, oh, I don't need that, or I've got this, don't I need to go and see someone who specialises in that? So I know on your website you've got like a lot of different people who you've helped, but what kinds of things can people bring to solution-based therapy like yourself?
I always start predominantly with anxiety.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the manifestations, so a lot of what people experience often stems from anxiety, you know, and it could be, you know, fears and phobias.
Yeah.
It could be life events, dealing with, you know, bereavement and, you know, things that have been difficult in their lives, traumatic events, post-traumatic syndrome, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I had to think then. What other things do people come with?
Yeah, things like depressions on your website,
Yes.
exam stress.
Yeah, all of those things often start with anxiety.
Yeah.
It's anxiety about something, you know, public speaking, being able to stand up in front of a crowd, you know, what other things have been things? The likes of wanting to change your lifestyle, you know, healthy eating, stopping smoking, what other things do? The range is massive, but predominantly it starts with anxiety.
So you could speak to people who've got some quite profound mental well-being issues, to more kind of neurotic middle range, to also just OCD, people who want to work on a particular aspect of their life, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah. So, and you know, even because I'm a paediatric nurse and my background is health visiting and working with children and young people, I do have, you know, a sign of passion really for working with them. And so I've worked with young children from the age of 6, 7 upwards. And people probably wonder, well, how would it help? Well, actually, it's just the same, because children like to feel like they've got control over things and they make choices in their lives. And I'll work with the parents as well, so it's not just the child itself, but we make those sessions really fun and really, you know, we play games and we talk about what strengths they've got and what they're really good at, and you know, because that's the important thing, is that individuals with low self-esteem, with low confidence, don't know what they're capable of and what they're good at, and they've kind of forgotten all of that. So that's the sort of person that I work with, the client that I work with, is someone who wants to be somewhere in a different place, feeling better in themselves, and it is as general as that really. There's so many things it can help with, that the list is endless. Really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they say, I forget what the guy was who wrote the famous book on mentoring a few years back, but he said, like, everyone needs a mentor. And ultimately, when you're your own mentor, when you can have that mindfulness, that presence of mind to be self-analytical, you know, that's very, very powerful, and where you know, you want to get people to. That passion you've got for like working with young people as well, I mean, that came across in your website. You have special sessions for those kinds of people. It's like a full age range, different issues that people might bring to the table. Just going back to the brain, you spoke about the control bar as well. When we spoke last time, and can you just describe to people what the control bar is, because I found that a very useful term.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we do the initial consultation, I talk about how the sessions can help people, and so there's an image of a control bar, and it's set quite low, and the things underneath that control bar is the things that you're coping with, the things that in everyday life you're managing. So it could be running a household, or having your children, or having a job, or whatever. But then there is stresses above that control bar that are pressing down on you, that are really kind of becoming making life difficult. And what I say is that during our sessions, during the course of our sessions, which can range from, you know, 4 sessions to 10 sessions, everybody's different, and I never put a marker on how many sessions people should have, because again, often they will know for themselves. But what they do notice over the course of our sessions is that control bar starts to rise and starts to lift up, and then coping more with the things underneath, and there's less things on top of them. So it's essentially that really. it's about how you can feel more able to cope with the stresses of life.
By looking at the things above the bar, you can then break them down and come up with approaches, solutions.
That's right. Absolutely.
Fantastic. I was also very interested in the 3 Ps, which you discussed as well.
Yeah.
And I found that a very, very useful concept. So, the stress bucket is all the stuff that, when your bucket's full, you struggle to cope. The control bar, stuff below, you can deal with, stuff above you can't. So how do you raise the bar?
Yeah.
The 3 Ps, I found that a very useful concept.
So,
do you want to describe that?
We talk all the time in my sessions about how beneficial the 3 Ps are to helping lower the stress, raise the bar. And the 3 Ps stand for positive thoughts, positive actions, and positive interactions. And those 3 things in themselves, if you do that on a daily basis, can start to help lessen the stuff in the stress bucket, but it also helps with the flow of serotonin. Serotonin is the feel-good hormone that we all like to feel, when we're working together, coping, eating together and that sort of thing. So the 3 Ps help with that flow of serotonin. So when I say about positive thoughts, and I've said this before about, it's not a false sense of positivity, it's just about noticing some of the things that have been good that day. Even if, say for example, you've had a panic attack, and you notice, well actually it was shorter than the last panic attack that you had. That is something positive, because you've noticed that you've dealt with that in a different way. Positive action can be just taking the dog for a walk, or just going around your garden and looking to see what bulbs are coming up, something positive that doesn't involve anything else, just doing something. And then positive interaction is communicating with someone or something. So it could be a pet, it could be a friend that you haven't spoken to for a while, it could be get in touch with your mum who you perhaps haven't spoken to or you've fallen out with, or a friend that you haven't seen for ages, or even just knowing that there's someone there to talk to. It doesn't have to be face to face either, because this world day and age, it can just be pick your phone up or text message someone, but that positive interaction can be enough to boost that flow of serotonin. And when you've got a steady flow of serotonin in your mind, you just feel better. You feel more able to cope.
I think, when you look at, there are people who I see who really impress me. When you're with them, they make you feel better.
Yeah.
And when you see someone like that, people say, oh, I could never be like that, or whatever. And we're all different. There's genetic reasons, environmental factors. We've all been through different things, etc. But the ability to not control your thoughts, but to enhance the positivity in your thought patterns. You're going to feel negative thoughts. You're going to feel negative emotions. And that's what's kept us alive over the last few million years. But to enhance the positivity, the serotonin makes you feel better, you're less likely to get ill. The positive actions, if you fill your life with positive actions, you feel better about what you do. And then the positive interactions, as you say, it can be something as simple as just being pleasant to the next person you speak to, or it might be, I haven't spoken to that person. It might be, I spoke a few weeks ago on another podcast, I think it was my first Wellbeing podcast, about say sorry to someone that you've wronged, even if you're waiting for them to say sorry to you first, something like that. And those actions, those little changes can make huge long-term improvements. And that idea of just feeling better right now, it's such a powerful incentive, isn't it? To get your thoughts right, first of all. I mean, I remember someone had a car crash and they were a bit upset. I spoke to him, it was a friend of mine, and he said, oh, I crashed my car. And I went, oh yeah, you alright? He goes, yeah. And I was like, just, oh yeah, no, you okay? And I think this person looked at me and he saw me trying to be positive about it and all that, and he said, you know what, it's just a lump of metal in it, you know what I mean? And even interpreting a car crash, which people can get really upset over, you can say, okay, it's just a lump of metal, it's happened, I'm going to deal with it. come up with an approach, you know, instead of dwelling on it.
That's right.
Get on with life, you know, move on, let's think positively and move on to the next stage. So everything that happens, we can interpret in a more positive way, which leads to better actions and interactions as well. But I found those concepts brilliant, and the way that you underpin your approach with the science of the brain, I think that's really, really important as well.
And that comes from a training. I can't take credit for that.
We all need to train, don't we? But another thing as well is like, your own mind, people don't always appreciate how their own minds work, and by understanding how your mind works, you can then move on. Totally. And people sometimes find it hard to look at their own mind. It can be a little bit scary, but
it can be. But actually, on the other hand, it can be empowering as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know if people are interested in? You've already mentioned some of the training that you've done in hypnotherapy, psychotherapy. Obviously, people can come to speak to you. We will put. I will put your website and details on the notes. But if people are interested in coming to see you, that's something that they can do in the Ormskirk area of the northwest of England. But if people are interested, there is a course that people can do. Could you just remind us what the 4 letters were for that particular school?
It's CPHT.
CPHT.
Clifton Practice Hypnotherapy Training.
Right, and I'll put that in the notes as well. And also, if people are interested, there's a lot of nonsense on the internet, but the internet can be quite good for things as well. Can people research on the internet?
Yes. If
There's some good resources.
Solution Focused Hypnotherapy, it will come up, or the Association for Solution Focused Hypnotherapy has all registered solution focused hypnotherapists on their website. So funny enough, I've been on it this morning just to check everything was up to date with me, because you need to be aware that people, because we're not a regulated authority, we're not a regulated profession. So you have to be mindful that you can get people who say they are psychotherapists and hypnotherapists who maybe don't have the qualifications that maybe that I've got. So you can check out the association. You can check out. I'm also part of the CNCH, which is the Healthcare Council. So there are different places that people can go to check out people's qualifications. You also need to look for insurance, make sure that people are insured to see you. So and I've also got a full DBS check as well. So these are the things that people might want to feel confident in. When you look at, sometimes when you search people and they have all these letters, don't they? And it looks impressive, but you think, well, what do those letters mean? And often it should really say on people's websites what their qualifications are and what they what they can and can't do, really.
Yeah, I think those accredited websites, they are useful.
Yes,
because you know that you're getting people who are trained to a certain
level. That's right, yeah.
We're going to attach or give details on your relaxation techniques. It's available through your website, isn't it?
Is it?
I thought it was when I looked.
Oh.
Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. But it's something that people can try when they're going to bed.
Yes.
So people who maybe struggle getting to sleep, etc. So we will put details on there.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
As well. I just want to say as well, we're in the back garden of your house and you've got a converted shipping container. And it's absolutely beautiful in here. And so relaxing. And I think I said to you before, the setting for these kind of things is also very, very important, that people are relaxed and it's a lovely little room that you've got set up here. So
thank you.
Well done for all your efforts.
Well, I have to give credit to my husband who did the majority of the conversion. I just did a little bit of paint work. Really.
I think as well, I think you've also mentioned how having no support networks, if you're trying to make a change in your life, you said at 40, I want to do this. And I've done this, but I want to do this, and you made that change. So if you're like the fruit of this kind of thing anyway, about being able to make those changes.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought about it like that, but it is doable. Nothing is, nothing is impossible. If you want to do something, you can make a change. Yeah, for sure.
I just want to finish with 2 things which came up when I was thinking about getting counselling in years gone by, etc. And there was 2 questions that I had, even though I knew I was interested in counselling, I don't mind, and approaches like yourself is, it's too much money and I haven't got time.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say what I did to help me with that, and then you might have some comments as well, and we can edit this out if you want. But I decided to do sessions twice a month, so that in a calendar month, I get paid monthly, I'd have 2 sessions, so I could manage that.
Yeah.
People can do it every week or whatever, will do it once a month. I don't know if you've had people who've done that.
Yeah.
And what I said to myself is, if I'm not willing to invest in making me a better person, then what is life about? And I just want to stress that to people who are listening to this. And you might have some comments on that in a moment, but the other thing was about the time issue. And again, it's a similar thing. If I cannot put aside a couple of hours a month, or more or less or whatever, to make me a better person, then again, what does that say about how I view myself? And have you got any other comments on that?
I do totally agree with you, and I think people do worry about how much things cost and, you know, the time that it does take.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, you can't really put a price on that, you know, where you want to be.
Yeah.
You know, and I do, people do find it difficult, and it might put some people off, but I would always say to people, just ask me. You know, if I can find a way around it, because you know what, fundamentally, my biggest thing is I want to help people. You know, obviously it's a business, and I need to be able to afford to live. But my ultimate goal is to support people. You know, I'm a nurse by background. I've always wanted to help people, and I think if they're willing to take that step, then I'll be right by them.
Yeah, and also we're designed to want to help others and to like the fact that we've helped others, and it, you know, you're doing yourself a lot of good, aren't you? Through this. I can see that in the way that you are around people, etc. And when you spoke to, this is my second meeting with you, and we've spoken by email, but you exude positivity. I don't know if exude's the right word. You just get positivity and good vibes from yourself. But I can't stress enough how important it is for people to want to better themselves and to get the tools to better themselves.
Absolutely, and that's what I say to people, that this kind of, the hypnotherapy, the sessions that I offer are actually a toolkit to be able to pick up, you know, if things and life's challenges become too much for you at any point. So although it's an investment in time and money, actually, and you start to notice the changes. We do have ups and downs in life, and actually, if you're able to pick up a tool again that you know works for you, then that's an investment, isn't it? You know, and that's what people are able to do, is they go, right, what helped me last time? Right, I know what, I was chatting with Dianne, and you know, I decided to do this, that helped, so I'll do that again. And that's what I think is empowering, is that it's not a quick fix, it's not a magic wand, it's life changing. That's right. You know,
and when you do sessions as well, you can write things down and get little things to work on between sessions, and that's part of it as well. You're taking it into your day-to-day life.
That's right. Embedding it.
Just one final thing that some people may ask in relation to coronavirus and distance. Do you offer Zoom sessions? I know obviously face-to-face is always better because you develop more rapport, but you do offer Zoom sessions as well, and that's available for people, isn't it?
And that's part of the reason why why we bought this shipping container, was that I was working from a room in my house upstairs, and the room wasn't big enough to have a 2 metre distance. So I did go Zoom for quite a while during last year, and that worked really well. And then obviously since then I've been able to keep a 2 metre distance. Being in here, it's a good size, and I can open the door if I need to. So but Zoom is also available.
Brilliant. Dianne Jennings, thank you very much. And Dianne, the name of her company is Solution Focused Hypnotherapy and Psychotherapy. Check it out, the links will be available in the notes. Thank you so much for your time. I'm getting a bit cosy in this place. I think I might
that reclines that chair, you know.
Don't say that. I might sneak in here one night and stay here.
I know, it is very relaxing, and there's blankets there if you want.
Thank you very much, Dianne, and Happy New Year, everyone. You'll probably hear this in 2022, but Happy New Year, and thanks again.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Brilliant.
Don't forget to like, follow and share this podcast, and to follow me on Twitter at North Podcasts. Take it easy. Hi, this is Tim. I hope you're enjoying North and South podcasts. I have decided to join Ko-fi, Ko-fi, and I've got an account now where you can donate as a one-off or with a regular monthly donation. I would like to do this maybe half a day, one day a week, and see where it goes. Build up a team maybe in the long term, trying to help people get good messages out there, represent people, make our communities better. So if you're interested in supporting me with a regular monthly donation, it would be really, really appreciated at ko-fi.com/North South Podcasts, and the link will be in the notes. Thank you so much.